Welcome back to another episode of That Conversation. And today is part 2 of our conversation about poverty and choices. So without further ado, back with the gang. Poverty and choices, that conversation.
Charge of our lives, poverty can truly impact you like you have no part that you can be in charge of. And you feel like a failure, I think.
Parental guilt is huge. For instance, my situation, I make pretty good money. So I'm not even speaking from a family who, mom works at Tim Hortons and dad works at a gas station, right? I don't know how they make it at all, because I make pretty good money and I can't. I had to take a second job. So I'm working 50 hours a week, single parent, but my 14-year-old is now not getting me for an extra 20 hours out of the week.
Pam, I just want to highlight that because I feel like people that don't make a lot feel as though people that make more than them are making enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when people,
I absolutely do.
Yeah, like they hear you say, I make good money. Yeah, this is what we're trying to say to everyone who's listening, right? Like, most of us are not making enough. And the word enough pertains to in order for us to do the things that we want to do when we want to do it. The freedom
to thrive. Yeah.
It's not just the survival. Who wants to just survive? The people that are barely surviving want to survive. The people that are surviving want to live.
Yeah.
I think everybody's looking for the freedom, like to be in a job where it has become uncomfortable for you, but you still have to work it because of the finances.
Yep.
Right? Like you might not be impoverished, but you're not free from that obligation. So I wanted to highlight that, Pam. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted people to understand that just because someone makes more than you does not mean that it's enough. Like, right? Like you can have a good job and still need a part-time job.
Yep. And I'm getting, because of my a personal situation of mine, I'm getting a little bit of a subsidy from the government. If I did not have that, my child and I would be homeless.
Right.
Because I literally, again, I make good money, but I don't make enough to pay rent on the rental prices right now, and the utilities and the heat. I don't make enough. That would take my entire monthly income. Then I would have no groceries. I'd have no car payment. I'd have no insurance. I'd have, so I have to have a second job and I have to have this supplement. And when the supplement runs out, I'm terrified. What will I do? I'll have to.
I don't think that is good enough.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, Pam, like for any person, any of us, earning a wage that society is saying to us, you can function on this well. We're told that's good, that's enough, you'll be fine. And I think sometimes that's a real lie. It's not. Half the wages in Nova Scotia are so low.
Yes.
For full-time jobs, for people working like yourself and myself. I have 3 jobs. That's a lot. I work 6 days a week.
Right.
Okay. So it's like the money we make, I think we're often pressured to believe is, who are you or any of us to complain and be concerned about that? So even for people to talk about it, to say, I may make some money, and if we didn't compare it, but we compared it to the economy, what we have to pay for, right? A car to get to work, a bicycle to get to work, a bus pass to get to work, daycare, all these living things for a family. And I don't think we are getting the type of wage that people really, really need in general right now. I'm saying for right now.
In my situation, if I didn't have a fiance who made more than I did, I'd still be living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other guys and 2 other cats. Like, I'd still have to have a second job, and I did up until recently. And I'm also trying to justify buying myself a new car while trying to combat all that. And I make good money as well. And still, it's a process of understanding needs versus wants versus priorities, right?
But again, we work our butts off. Why can't we have something that we just want? Like, you know what I mean? Like we're putting skin in the game. We're working a lot of hours a week. We're doing good work. And why then still do we have to live with this? Do I really want it, or do I need it? Do I really, like, why can't we just go away for the weekend?
And this is where I wanted to go with this, financial poverty and trauma and all that, is because sometimes people look at people who are in social assistance and they go, they shouldn't have that TV, they shouldn't have that, they shouldn't have that, they shouldn't have that, they shouldn't have that. And I think inside what people are really saying is, I work really hard and I don't have that, so how come they have that? But really it's not that we don't want that person to have it, it's that we want everybody to have it. That's the whole point. Like, we're all working really hard. Like, you think that it's easy to, the social assistance only keeps you at a certain level.
Yeah.
It doesn't promote greater living. It's not like if everybody's going on vacation on the social assistance.
Yeah, no one's getting rich on social assistance. Yeah.
No, and you're kind of stuck, and it's there to help you, prop you, to keep you for a little bit, and then you gotta find your way. And it doesn't really, you know what I mean? So for people to be like, man, turn around and look at that person. Oh my goodness, they got 2 kids and a big screen TV, and they don't have to pay their rent, and then they get supplement, and they get this and they get that. Okay, then switch with them then. Like, no, you're not doing that, right? And I think that, so when you feel that way, Pam, after working really hard, working your butt off, and Gillian and Alex, by the way, just in case for those who are just tuning in, we're counselors, therapists, support workers. These are reputable jobs and nice jobs. And sorry?
No, so yeah, they're good jobs. We enjoy them.
Yeah. And we love
enjoy
them. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's enough financially,
Yeah.
for anyone. And it's not enough for people that are on social assistance. It's very rare that you would find people that have enough. In fact, many of them work their entire life. When you think about trauma, and so you work your entire life hard from the time that you're 15 onward, working, hoping to develop society. You work hard just to retire at 67. This is when you're supposed to have your financial freedom. When life and your vitality is less, right? So when we talk about poverty, it's not just the poverty of the finances. It's almost like a poverty of how many of us feel really free? Like, when we talk about finances, a lot of times what we're really talking about is this belief in freedom, that if I had the means, what would I do? How would I live? Where would I go? And the people that don't have financial freedom, and I would include probably all of us in terms of what freedom really is. Nobody really, I don't know if many people have experienced that before, but I remember when I was living in Sweden, and I was in between jobs, and I was training with the team, and they're willing to pay me $800 a month in Sweden. I was telling this story earlier, and I was 26 at the time, and I was a soccer player. And so I was in between jobs, and I was training with this team. They're paying me $800, but they were feeding me, so I wasn't paying for food, 3 meals a day, and I wasn't paying my rent. So in effect, I was saving $800 a month because I had nothing to do with my money, right? I never felt more rich than when I didn't have any concerns.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's relative. It's based on, it's not the amount of money that you make. It's not even about the amount of money that you save. I really think that the poverty that we feel is actually inside. Like, when we feel the way we feel, it's because time is so expensive. And we spend so much of it doing so little of what we actually want to do. Am I wrong on that?
Oh, you're wrong. No, you're not wrong. I think that there is real concrete poverty.
Yes.
There is. And there's real richness of money.
Mhm.
And the more in this Western society
Especially.
that we can access money, we can access more resources, which makes your life easier on a practical level.
Yes.
However, I have met many people with all those resources and are in their mindset extremely depressed,
Mm-hmm.
extremely unsatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
They're not complaining about their resource that they can go to the club or play golf or
Mhm.
take their kid to daycare. That's all good. But inside themselves, there is a deep dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing fills that void. And I have met people who have money well in the, rich area of finances and are rich inside as well.
Mm-hmm.
They have values that really matter to them. They have values that are beyond money,
Mm-hmm.
about spirituality, about love, about kindness, about connection in the world. People in different countries and here in real reality of poverty. And I worked up in the Northwest Territories and in Nunavut for 18 years. And there's a lot of poverty and
Mhm.
survival. And I met people that had incredible mindsets that were rich inside,
Mhm.
that felt their values, that felt okay, that they had ways to make it through. And one of the things that stood out to me is that they were people who didn't pretend that this wasn't a stressor, that they couldn't get certain things, that life was hard. They acknowledged it, and then they also had deep values about life
Mm-hmm.
that brought them some kind of internal uh, peace or freedom from the restrictions outside of themselves.
Mm-hmm. When I was living in Thailand, I think what changed my life was witnessing how many of the locals lived.
Mm-hmm.
I was very privileged to be playing a sport that rewarded me financially, and I went to a place where the the worth of a Canadian dollar was very high. And I had been in Europe at this point for somewhere around 10 years. And I finally wanted to go to Asia, and I went there and I witnessed something that I never seen before. And it made me redefine what poverty is. They would wake up around 11 or be at work for 11. And they would go to work like how we would all go to work. And they'd have a little hour break in between, and then they would work again. And when it was dinner time, I noticed that on the beach, the whole family would come out, and they would spread like a blanket or like a mat on the beach, and they'd come out with the guitars, and they would sit there and they would share food every night. And in the houses that were around where I was, there was no kitchen. They all went out to eat every night, and the food was not expensive. But the things that mattered most, they were rich in. They spent quality time every day, every night until 2 in the morning. These guys would be strumming that guitar, singing and laughing, and just sharing. And then they go to bed. They do what they have to do, and they do it again. That changed everything for me. And when finances were not an issue in one time in my life in that occupation, I was miserable because I was searching for something much greater than what a dollar can buy. And I would say for those that are going through the struggle and who are fixated on the finances, though it's real, like Gillian said, I think that the most important thing, as we've heard many times before, if you were on your deathbed, what would you care about most? Is probably what you should care about the most while you're still living. So I hope that that brings some solace, to people. The second thing I wanted to bring up as a kind of a topic about poverty, and trauma is not the finances now. Now we're going to the emotions. This speaks to the second part that you might have spoken about a little bit earlier on, Gillian. You've witnessed people that have a lot of means. I have, and yet still they're impoverished emotionally. In your therapeutic experience, all of you, have you run into people like that? And what's the story that they had to tell that most people don't understand about what it's like to have the means, but yet still feel impoverished emotionally?
I think from what I have seen is the grind is killer, and the expectations are killer. Where, like, for instance, in my previous life, I was a hairdresser, and the grind was could be very, very overwhelming, because if we didn't, my friend and I would always call it, we eat what we kill, right? So if we don't have the client in our chair, we make no money. So it was always that the hustle to try to get a new client, keep a client, fill your day, book your appointments, get them in. Because if we didn't have a client, we literally we wouldn't be able to pay our rent, or we wouldn't be able to eat, buy groceries. So that grind and that constant anxiety of it not being enough really permeates through your whole identity at that point. I did that for 25 years. So for 25 years, I lived in that kind of that hustle of more, 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 or the bottom will fall out. And I'm just living in that kind of chronic stress. I think that grind, that hustle piece, can, and you end up doing just one more client. I'm supposed to be off at 5, but I'll just squeeze one more in. And then maybe just 2 more in. So instead of getting off at 5, I'm getting off at 9. Right. So, you're getting more finances, more money in your day, but your social life is non-existent. You use in hairdressing, or you do coke after work, so you can go to the clubs and party, and you'll stay awake because you're really exhausted after those days. A lot of cocaine use. And emotionally too, like, it was very interesting. At 40, I went back to school. I remember the conversations around who you are, what you like, what your favorite things are, what are your hobbies, those normal kind of everyday questions. I didn't have answers to, because for 25 years, I was fitting somebody else's mold. Every client needed a different Pam. So within one day, I could have, 6 clients, and get disclosures of, I just had a miscarriage. I just got engaged. I've just been diagnosed with cancer. I just found out my husband's having an affair. And I just got a promotion at work, right? Within one day. And it's just the switching gears, of becoming that person that they need you to be, while running for the money. I think it really changed me. And I changed since leaving that industry, having to retire due to an accident, and starting this career. It served me well, but it's not particularly healthy. Emotionally, it's not particularly healthy, because there's always that anxiety and that fear that the bottom's going to drop out of it all the time.
How do we end up, if it's not about money, really, like the cash in your hand kind of thing, right? But the things that
Mhm.
represent that we're doing okay in the
Yep.
world. And so I think of when I was raised, when I think others are raised in their families, and parents can be very good intentioned,
Mhm.
but we do have a very large societal, I believe, story that's about the more you have, the more you are showing others that you
Yeah.
are in control of your life. You're doing and you can do it. And so you're praised for that from very young. For birthday parties, we give so many presents to
Mm-hmm.
kids. There's no one bicycle. There's no like the ante has really grown,
Yes.
or property ownership, the
Mm-hmm.
the things. And so to me, very young emotionally, I think we attach our approval, our
Mm-hmm.
emotional, like I'm doing good or I'm a good person. I kind of, when everybody keeps giving me things, I keep getting things for everything
Yep.
I do, the best, oh, we're going to go out for dinner because you got A's, we're
Mm-hmm.
go and buy you a new this because you've satisfied us.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving things a lot to children. I
Yes.
experience right now than my generation or where I grew up. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's very large in emotional dissatisfaction.
Yep.
And that when you have everything, the emotions are still not based on emotions of your own sense of well-being and
Mm-hmm.
happiness or joy or pleasure.
Yep.
Others are feeding it to you.
Yep.
So you get addicted to not as much the thing as, because as soon as you get a new couch, most people will say later, give me a couple of weeks and I don't really care.
Right.
First had it, it was like unbelievable and
Mm-hmm.
full of kind of happiness and other types of feelings. And I think we learn that very young to make our
Mm-hmm.
feelings be happy from outside. And the more you get, and you get approval with it, feelings are not yours then anymore. They're not created by you,
Yep.
they're created by what you get.
That's a huge trap. External motivation or external approval.
Alex, have you ever bumped into someone who had everything externally but was kind of struggling internally?
College students, people who go through life thinking that they have it all, their parents raised them on trust funds. Yep, I've definitely run into that. It doesn't always work. It doesn't bring you the happiness you think it does. And it's so hard to get to that almost getting there is the reward, not necessarily the financial implications of it.
Yeah, I think often people feel that they're a fraud
Mm-hmm.
when they have all the things around them, and like you were saying, Alex, trust funds, and somebody paid for that and
Mm-hmm.
paid for that and paid for that. And the feeling inside the person is they never made it happen themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So then they feel like a fraud.
Imposter syndrome is a huge thing when it comes to professionals trying to fit into the work that they're born to do, but not making enough money in order to do it.
I'm thinking about how we've been trained to think these ways. I know that where I came from, especially in I don't know what you want to call it, Black culture, African American, African Nova Scotian, of African descent culture, because of the struggle to get, just to get. I could leave it at that. The struggle to become, right? The fight for equality. There's a sense that if you don't acquire that you failed. I know that friends in the Jewish community, if you're not a dentist, lawyer, doctor, one of those big on Wall Street, whatever, you failed. This outward acquisition of wealth is put on such a pedestal, especially
Mm-hmm.
in North America,
Yeah.
that when it comes to the index of happiness
Mm-hmm.
amongst nations, we're one of the worst
Yep.
because of where we put our values because of past experiences. I think when you don't have something for so long, you strive to get it. unfortunately, that the striving to get it, you forget some of the things. I know that my mom grew up with nine siblings, and they were, when I say poor, I just heard some stories about filling sacks with tall grass to make a mattress, and outhouses and rain catch basins for showers and all that stuff in Barbados. And I never heard these stories before. Six to a bed, sleeping across the mattress, and all kinds of things. I never ever heard of something like that before. And when I look at them now, I would never even imagine that that's what they went through. But despite those stories, they look back on those moments fondly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mom struggles with being alone because she's grown up with, eight different siblings. And all
Mm-hmm.
the stories that they would tell about each of them taking a lick of ice cream, sharing one ice cream cone, the funny stories just about, not having much and having to make do and making games and being inventive and all those things. I hear those stories, and sometimes I'm jealous
Mm-hmm.
because they had each other.
Yeah.
They had each other, and the times that they shared and the moments that they had and the fun that they had. And I think a lot of people would cherish that a lot more than the material things. I remember listening to a conversation that Michael Jordan had with Oprah, and she said, if you could do anything, you have all the money in the world, what would you do? And he said, I would just love to go on a date with my wife to the movies without being harassed. Most of us can do that.
Mhm.
He
Mm-hmm.
can't. He can't even pay for that. He would have to buy out the whole movie theater, and that won't even really. He can't have the experience of being around normal people,
No.
Yeah.
and so I really wish that we would put emphasis on things that really matter in life,
Mm-hmm.
because I think many of us, or a lot of people, feel poor because of where we put our values, like
And
what we value the most.
yeah, and I think that's where I'm saying that it's really, I think deep in most people, the connection of licking an ice cream together, or jumping in the mud pies, or shoveling barn that I grew up with, right? And my siblings throwing at each other and the stuff we did, right? And I will say that I feel so rich. I feel so rich spiritually in my heart, because I had so many lessons that we were not going to get everything we wanted.
Mhm.
And I remember, once it was my birthday and I had a lot of siblings and I wanted a new bike, and my father brought out of the garage a very old bike, at least to my child's eyes, and
Mm-hmm.
it was all newly painted green. And I remember feeling a moment of that wanting what society said. Like all my friends would be like, oh, that's not a new bike. But I remember feeling my dad's pride and happiness that he was able to paint this bike and just pass it through from my older siblings down to me by painting it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that being one of my most deeply connective moments between the part of me that was like longing to fit my group of kids and friends to my family. And in that moment, I wanted to belong to my family.
Mm.
That's, I think, I feel so lucky and to have been taught some of that stuff. And I think that's where the values of family, and that's why I say in trauma, when that family, like our families, even, you know, get beyond sharing a popsicle, but nobody can eat. I've had lots, a story of two young boys who the older brother used to steal to get some food, right? And he became labeled and social workers and everything. And all I remember thinking about is what a loving brother,
Mhm.
you know, to
Mhm.
give to to risk his own freedom
Mhm.
to help his younger siblings out and his parents. And I think those stories aren't told much anymore,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? I don't know if we speak about those to our children, and can we, each of us, speak about, those kind of moments instead of handing over just, I'll take you to, you know, I'll get you something, compared to
Mhm.
sharing these stories, that pass down wisdom, pass down love and connections and values that connect us to our hearts and our own input, kind of uh, within a sense of being worthy and valuing ourselves.
I want to ask each one of you guys these two questions, right? And no wrong answer. I'm actually quite curious. I want to ask you, Alex, and this is going to go for everyone. In your definition, what is poverty and what is wealth? And if you can put it into as few words as possible, what is poverty? And the next question is, what is wealth?
Poverty is turmoil. Wealth is multi-definitional.
Okay. Pam?
Poverty to me is not having what you need to sustain your life, whether being financial, emotional, relational, connections. All of those can be parts of poverty, but it's not having what you need to sustain a healthy life. Wealth is having enough support, having enough connections, having enough healthy relationships, having enough finances, financial health to provide for more than just your basic needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Gillian?
Outside of ourselves, poverty is a need for something more that we don't always get.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Inside ourselves, it's when we don't have enough of ourselves inside ourselves.
Yep.
Wealth outside of us is when we can cherish everything that might be around us,
Mm-hmm.
hold it dear. And wealth within is when we hold ourselves and our spirits very dear.
Mm-hmm.
I think that poverty is bondage
Yep.
when you cannot, because, when you don't, because, um, when you don't have a choice. I think wealth is freedom, freedom to live, freedom to express yourself, freedom to I am, freedom to worship, freedom to think, freedom of opinion, freedom of travel, freedom to live as you would like.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, so yeah, for me, wealth is freedom and poverty is bondage. And I think that everybody needs to ask themselves that question, because we're all going to have to deal with life, but our perspective, I think that that's the key. There's only so much that we can do. I don't even know where it came from, but I know I learned it through, actually, it was a rap song, believe it or not. The Serenity Prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And it is really true um, that there's not much that we can do sometimes about our circumstance, but our outlook and how we view it makes a world of difference. And I hope that today in our discussion that it would cause people on both sides of the aisle, whether you have or you have not, to think about the things that matter and realize that many of us, all who are breathing, in many ways, are striving internally for the same things. Most of us. and that should bring us together, whether we have financial gain or financial poverty. So I hope that this helps, and thank you guys so much for being so candid, so open, and so thoughtful today. Appreciate it. Oh, and for those that that want the full discussion, please, you can follow us on Facebook. Unfortunately, it's called Dave's Conversation because on Facebook you need to have a profile name of a real person. So, but you'll find that conversation there, and please contact. By whatever means that you hear this, please try to follow and communicate with us that which you would like to hear us talk about. We're always free to hear, what the audience would like us to discuss that maybe they would like to discuss, but they might not know how. And so please let us know. We're open to discussing anything, as long as it can edify all those that are hearing. So thank you so much for witnessing and being a part of that conversation. We do this for you and for each other.
Very reflective today.
I know, eh? I know.
That was a hard one.
Wasn't it? I know.
Trying to, ay.
I know. I was in that kind of mood. I told you guys I had a pretty rough day.
Yeah.
Yeah.